If you've ever seen anything from my YouTube channel, you'll know that I'm a massive Kiss fan. However, that doesn't necessarily mean I like every single thing they've ever done, and YouTube's algorithm tends to favor negativity, so before we get into this is just my opinion. These are my personal least favorite Kiss songs. Some of these songs you may love, and that's perfectly fine. Absolutely feel free to tell me why you dig these songs if you do, or if there are any you think are worse. The only things excluded from this are the 1978 solo albums, because otherwise this would just be a video of me bullying Peter Criss. It has to be a proper Kiss song. So let's get into it. First up is a track from the 1983 album Lick It Up, the band's first album after taking their makeup off. Paul Stanley wrote the song with then lead guitarist Vinnie Vincent. They wanted to write something that was up-tempo and balls to the wall. There's a couple of songs like this on my list. Can't say I hate it or anything, I just don't find it particularly interesting. It doesn't connect with me at all. In spite of some cool riffs, the song happens and I forget about it immediately. I never listen to it, and I never want to. Written by Diane Warren, this was recorded for the soundtrack to the 1999 movie Detroit Rock City. The year prior, there had been this movie called Armageddon, and on that soundtrack was a little song by Aerosmith. I Don't Want to Miss a Thing was a big hit for that band, and also was written by Warren. Paul Stanley was friends with her, and likely asked her for a song when they needed a song for a soundtrack. Stanley was also the only member of the band to actually play on the song. Armageddon is a big action movie with a love story at the center, so a big ballad makes a bit of sense for that. Detroit Rock City is a late 90s, raunchy, R-rated comedy about 4 teenage boys getting laid and going to a Kiss concert. A big, sappy Kiss ballad makes really no sense as a single for that, and according to Peter Criss, wasn't even what the studio was looking for. The only reason this ranks a little higher is that I do really like Stanley's vocal delivery on this track. Some really good singing from him. Other than that, I think this is a real corny ballad, which I can get into, but this would be a song I would be embarrassed if someone caught me listening to it. You guys knew something from The Elder was going to be on here. In 1981, Kiss, for better or worse, decided to try their hand at a concept album, an attempt to both create interest in a film based on the album's story and gain some respect from music critics and peers. Some Kiss fans will stand behind this as a masterpiece of prog rock. I am not one of them. From a far-off galaxy, this song was written by a guy named Tony Powers, an American songwriter. Powers had recorded it, Paul Stanley heard it, really liked it, and asked Powers if they could use it. Powers said the song is about the idea that time is an illusion. My interpretation of the song was that it was a love song. Guess I was off on that one. I still maintain that the lyrics are really cheesy. It still sounds like he's singing Bear. I know it's Mare, but I still hear it as Bear. I don't know what to tell you guys. The arrangement is solid, I like the production, and I really dig the guitar solo, so it's not awful. The two big problems are the lyrics and Stanley's voice. He has described his singing on the song as tragic. I wouldn't go that far, but I do agree that it doesn't work. His delivery really makes the whole thing feel silly. Song does not work for me, and honestly feels like it has nothing to do with the overall story of The Elder, other than the vaguest idea of going on an odyssey. Written by Gene Simmons and Mitch Weissman, this comes from the 1984 album Animalize. Notoriously, Simmons was more motivated by his acting career at this point, and according to Paul Stanley, just threw a handful of songs together before bailing. And that's what this one feels like to me. Filler. The title is borrowed from a paperback novel Simmons saw as a child. The song has some cool riffs and a decent groove, but it does nothing for me otherwise. A song I forget as soon as I hear it. This was written by Paul Stanley and Bob Halligan for 1989's Hot in the Shade. The thing that is immediately apparent when listening to it is that the song is a massive ripoff of Def Leppard's Pour Some Sugar on Me. Like, it's not even remotely subtle. Going all the way back to Firehouse, Stanley would sometimes hear a song and then write his own version of it, which I think is fine, and often his song is different enough that you wouldn't even really notice, or ideally, just cool enough to overlook the elements he may or may not have lifted from other songs. There's really nothing like that in Read My Body. Everything that's good about it is just because Pour Some Sugar on Me is a good song. The lyrics are real corny, and Stanley's rap delivery does not work at all. I'd be so embarrassed if someone caught me listening to this. Written by Paul Stanley and Bob Ezrin, this comes from 1998's Psycho Circus. It was a very thinly veiled attempt to create another Beth, a pretty ballad for Peter Criss to sing, which is something I'm not a big fan of. This weird thing of trying to mathematically recreate classic Kiss albums or songs. Remember how we used to hide away. I enjoy Stanley's vocals on the bridge, but other than that, I think this is a really corny song. I'd rather just listen to Beth, which is simpler and has a better emotional core to it. Written by Gene Simmons and Vinnie Poncia, this also comes from Hot in the Shade. It's kind of an R&B thing? Question mark? I don't know, I just think it's kind of lame. Bruce Kulick's solo is cool, but other than that, this song does nothing I find interesting or memorable. Another one off Lick It Up, this one written by Gene Simmons. For me, the lyrics are the big issue here. Now, let's not pretend Kiss lyrics are great poetry. They're often corny, sometimes cringy, and also can be misogynistic. Well, you can see Before anyone gets mad, I'm not canceling anybody. I'm not calling anyone a bad person. I'm just giving my point of view on this. The thing with a lot of Kiss lyrics is that they were playful, tongue-in-cheek, a little cheesy, but all in good fun. Plus, these are rock stars from the 70s. I get it, and enjoy it. What's the problem for me here is that this isn't playful or tongue-in-cheek. The song is about a woman cheating on a man, and that man threatening violent revenge. It's wildly uncomfortable, needlessly aggressive, and also massively hypocritical given who is singing the song. One of the biggest and proudest sluts in the music industry. Dude who bragged for decades about all the women he slept with, singing a song whining about faithfulness. I guarantee there's no way Simmons was faithful to any girlfriend ever. It's hollow and weird. And even beyond the lyrics, I see no appeal to this musically. It does nothing for me. Christine 16 also has some kinda yikes lyrics, but at least that song is catchy. A big miss on an otherwise really solid album. Another one from Hot in the Shade. This one written by Gene Simmons and Bruce Kulick. This started as a riff from Kulick. Another one of those up-tempo songs I was talking about earlier that do nothing for me. I think the biggest problem is the production. As I have talked about in several videos, Hot in the Shade was produced in a cheap studio as an overcorrection to Crazy Nights, and also probably as a way to save money. The entire album ended up sounding like demos. This is a track I feel was definitely hurt by that. For what the song is, I feel like it needs a much bigger production. Eric Carr's drumming is really solid, but it sounds so small. With the Creatures of the Night-esque drum sound, this could maybe work. Big, thunderous drums and some crunchier guitars. This song really needs some balls, sonically speaking. And my least favorite Kiss song comes from 1985's Asylum, written by Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Rod Swenson, and Wes Beach. This song actually has an interesting history. It started as a demo from Stanley for the album that became The Elder. When it was decided to do a concept album, the song was discarded, though recently saw official release on the Creatures of the Night box set. Some Kiss fans might be aware that Simmons produced a Wendy O. Williams album around this time. Some consider it to be an unofficial Kiss album. The riff here comes from something Swenson and Beach, members of that band, were working on. Simmons took that riff and Stanley's chorus and wrote a new song around it. Some of my dislike of this for sure comes from Salt, as I think the demo, Deadly Weapons, is a lot better. It's a fun, catchy song that I wish had ended up on a Kiss album somewhere. I hate Simmons' chorus, especially in comparison to Stanley's. It's completely lost the hook and appeal. Nothing here stands out. Kinda messy. Such a blah whatever of a song. I don't think I like a single thing. So those are the worst Kiss songs in my opinion. Interesting to note that none of them come from the 70s. Take whatever conclusions from that you'd like to. Do you agree with my list? Are there songs you think are worse? Let me know in the comments what you think the worst Kiss songs are, and thank you for watching.